All right, well, joining me now is Bobby Peters, the man who wrote the 2023 Baltimore Ravens Complete Offensive Manual, as well as game planning with the 2023 San Francisco 49ers, many other books about NFL schematics. Bobby, thanks for coming on.
Of course, excited to talk about the Ravens offense.
All right, let's do it. So we have Counter Strong GT Arc.
Yeah, so the Ravens, to kind of take a step back, the Ravens are one of the best counter teams in the NFL. They run a multitude of different variations based on the fronts, and Lamar's running ability unlocks another element too, the read element, which is what this play is. So what this version of counter is called generically GT counter. So it means the backside guard and tackle are going to be the pullers, the ones that are going to kick out and lead through the hole. So in this play, without a backside tight end to block the defensive end, Lamar is going to read the defensive end. All right, so this play, the defensive end, yep, so he stays wide enough here where Lamar is going to hand the ball off. All right, so the guard is going to kick the end man in the line of scrimmage, and the tackle is going to lead through. As you can see, it's a nice play to gain a hat at the point of attack. Now, the unique element about this, where the arc comes in, is the front side tight end. So here, the front side tight end is tabbed to arc the end man on the line of scrimmage to widen him to create a wider running lane for the running back. So he's going to arc the defensive end, bluff him, right? So that's going to keep him wider and prevent him from crashing down on the tackle's down block. And then that tight end's going to go up and block the down safety, and it's going to create a nice lane for the running back to scoot through here.
So Mark here, he's not supposed to really contact Garrett, right? It's kind of like an outside release. Is that right?
Yeah, ideally he's not supposed to make contact, but if the defender's going to run into him, he's not. I don't think he's going to get shoot out in the film room after the game or anything like that. But no, this is perfect because it keeps him. It's enough
because he needs to engage Delpit.
Yeah, you want to give the illusion that you're responsible for blocking him, so that he stays wide enough, and that's exactly what happens here. It's a great arc technique here from Mark Andrews.
So Garrett has to basically respect that outside move.
Essentially, yeah. So look at all that space between Garrett and that play side tackle there. So that gives. So if you let it play another half second here, you'll see the guard kick out, right? Because Garrett's trying to close that space. So the guard kicks out, right, and gives enough space for that tackle and the running back to go through. So that's the idea of the arc tag here, is to wide. It's a small tweak to a typical counter play to create a wider running lane.
I was just going to ask about tag. You hear that a lot. Could you tell me what that means?
Yeah, so a tag is, so you've got a base play, right? So this is GT counter, right? So usually on GT counter, a frontside tight end is going to be part of the down blocking system, working to a backside linebacker, right? Well, when they tag it with like another word at the end of a play, that tag can mean a bunch of different things, right? So like we've for a backside arc. So I coach high school football too, and when we want a backside tight end to arc, we call it bark. So like we'll tag like GT counter bark or whatever, and that tells the backside tight end arc. So like I don't know what the Ravens exact word is, but the added word tells Mark Andrews, okay, I'm going to arc on this play up to the down safety.
All right, and as far as the Browns front here, what is this front? Is this even?
Yeah, so a 4 down front, right? You got the 3 technique to the tight end, which is typical. So it's
over.
More specifically, it's an over front. So this is a typical look, especially from a 4 down team. Cleveland, also the Jim Schwartz style defense, they like to play these defensive ends in what's called wide nines to try to get up the field. So that's why Garrett is so wide on this outside of the flex tight end. That's another nice adjustment to the play too, is Mark Andrews is flexed out a little bit from the formation, kind of like in a receiver stance too. So this act widens Garrett even further. So it's kind of like a double, between that and his alignment and the arc action, it's a nice way to keep Garrett nice and wide to still be able to run the ball at one of the best defenders in the NFL.
So is there anything that about an over front that kind of signals that the counter concept is a good fit against it? Like, what's the ideal front to run counter against? Is there one?
In this case, where the front side tight end is arcing. So this could have been called at the line of scrimmage too, the arc tag. It could have been like, okay, against a 4 down over front, we're going to arc. But because the Browns play so much, it was probably game planned and called in the huddle. But the whole point with any run scheme in general is you want to create double teams at the point of attack, right? And that's exactly what we get here. We get the play side guard and the play side tackle double teaming that 3 technique. So in that sense, yes, it's a good Counter without that front side tight end working down is a nice way to create a double team at the point of attack. And as you can see, that vertical movement created by that tight end also opens up the hole for the running back. So it's a well designed play, well executed play overall. It's a great example of why the Ravens are so good at running the football.
Yeah. All right. So then our next play, which is, if I'm correct, I mean, it's not they're not running exactly to the same direction, but off of counter you have the QB run game, which is, of course, something that is a necessity with a quarterback like Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, so this is a design quarterback counter. So same idea. We get the arc action from Andrews right now. The center's pulling. If you want to go back to the start of the play, so CT counter is a slight adjustment to GT counter, and what it does is with a backside 3 technique. So if you pause it right there, so as you can see, number 70, our backside guard here. All right, if you were to pull. If you were to pull and it was GT counter, that would be a very hard block for that center to get back to, right? He's got to work across the guard's face to get to that. And if, especially against an aggressive defense, like aggressive defensive front like Cleveland, that defender usually wants to try to get upfield quickly. So that's a way that the defense can blow up the play from behind. So an adjustment that Harbaugh, Monken, and the Ravens like to use is they'll kind of give the center and guard will give like a me-you tag, right? So like if a me-you call. So if there's a backside 3 technique, the center will instead pull. And this held true pretty much for the entire season for Baltimore when they had GT counter called. So the center pulls, and now the back block for that guard is much easier. So essentially the center and that backside guard are just switching responsibilities. So the play is the same. Nothing changes for anybody else except that center and that backside guard.
And is Lamar reading anything right here? Like, is Zay Flowers really, if this defensive end didn't crash, if he stayed home, would Lamar hand off to Flowers, you think?
So that defensive end is getting blocked. So the way to kind of decide if a play is like a quarterback read is to see if any defensive end, specifically on the backside of the run, is well, I shouldn't say the backside. If there's a defensive end that's unblocked, right? So here the center is going to kick out that defensive end, and then if you look on the backside, I believe that's Patrick Ricard who's executing a squeeze hinge technique to block that backside defensive end. So that tells me it's a design quarterback run because we're not reading a defensive end, right? See Patrick Ricard kind of squeeze hinging that guy. So it's a design quarterback run.
Gotcha. All right. Okay, so then our next play, what I was kind of prefacing here is this handoff to Flowers against the Chargers, which we can see in a minute.
Was this a short yardage situation? I think this one was, right?
Yes. So this was
zero blitz.
Yeah. This was game on the line, and so.
Yeah. Go to the wide view of this one. I just want to see because I think they were in cover 0 on this. So this is another good example of it too. All right. So they are in cover 0. So it's the Chargers are expecting a run here, right? There's no deep safety. You've got all defenders within, looks like 6-7 yards of the line of scrimmage there, right? So what we're doing, if you want to take it back to the tight view again. All right, so here, okay, Lamar's reading that backside defensive end. Okay, so Khalil Mack squeezes, and he hands the ball. So this is a bash variation. So bash means the quarterback and the quote-unquote running back switch responsibility. So here, right, normally the running back would be running the counter element and Lamar would kind of be keeping it to the naked side. Well, here with bash, especially with the jet motion, it's a great way to get speed to the perimeter quickly if that defensive end collapses. And especially with the Chargers in like a cover 0 man look here, the jet sweep is a nice way to kind of get the ball on the perimeter quickly and pick up the yardage. I think this was either a 3rd or a 4th down. It was a well-designed, so it was a well-designed, well-executed play in this sense. So this is that GT counter play we were talking about. But with no front side arc tag, Patrick Ricard, the front side tight end on this, is going to work down and work up to that linebacker. So this is like the base version of it. This is when they install the play, this is like the look that they want to have the first, or like the look for the offense they want to have the first day they put it in.
So a couple of questions. The first one is with the Chargers run fits and it being man coverage, this becomes the player responsible for Flowers, right?
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
So he's man to man on
Derwin
him anyways.
For.
Yeah. Yep. Correct. Yeah. So he's man to man on him anyways. Yep. So running and pass, he would be responsible for him.
And so if Mac widens out, takes away Flowers, Lamar's going to follow the block of the GT counter?
Correct. Yep.
Cool.
And as you see there, because the play's so well designed, he still might have been able to pick up the first down there too if he kept it. Yeah, and sometimes these plays hit so fast. I've also been told too that sometimes Lamar will pre-snap determine some of these. At least in the past under Greg Roman, I'm not sure if anything changed this year, but this play hits so fast too, so it's hard to say. I can't speak for certainty on whether he decides pre-snap on some of these if he's going to keep or pull. But
it seems impossible to defend when you're looking at 9 players pretty much in the box, and with the read element, it's like, how can a defense ever be right? You're totally selling out to stop the run. What is a defense supposed to do in that situation?
Yeah, no, it's tough. And especially with the quarterback element, you're gaining that hat back too, right? And especially when you get a well-designed element like this with the jet sweep, where you got that defender chasing him. All right, well, now you've got leverage on him working to that outside as well. You get a good block from the running back on the perimeter, and you're in good shape then. It almost looks like they're a guy short. Hang on, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, no, they're not. They're good. It almost looked like they had 10 guys on the field, so that was like that might be part of the reason too.
It probably feels like it. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it certainly does, and that's once again another great example of Baltimore's run game just gashing people.
Wow. Okay, so when I saw this
think about it, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna say before we move on, if you think about it, right, you've got Lamar accounting for Khalil Mack as the unblocked defender at the line of scrimmage. The other unblocked player, accounting for the ball carriers, that one chasing him from behind. As you can see, he's got leverage, right? Zay Flowers has the ball, he's in the middle of the field. His man defender's stuck on the hash, so he already has leverage from that standpoint, right? So those are the 2 unblocked defenders. Everybody else is accounted for with the blocking scheme, and because it's kind of like a naked jet sweep away from a run action, you're not going to get inside-out pursuit, right? There's nobody really for the Chargers to force the ball back inside to.
Right, and even if he's forces him inside, the Chargers have to, these linebackers have to flow to Lamar and can't necessarily clean up. So Zay just takes one hard step, it's over. It's pretty crazy. So when I saw this play, this is the RPO element integrated. I felt like this was cheating because we've seen what the counter can do, just straight counter. They do a good job, right? This is a scrape technique, if I'm right. And then, so everything's accounted for, and then he just flips it to Odell. Could you tell me about, what's going on this play?
Yeah, if you go to the wide angle, I think the wide angle, we've talked about counter plenty from the tight and the different assignments, but I think when you add the RPO element, looking at it from the wide angle can really add to it here. So single high, right? So the defense, they have a quarterback player in the box, right? Whether it's in this case, the defensive end is going to chase the running play from behind. The linebacker, like you said, is going to scrape over the top and account for the quarterback. This is a good, right? We were talking the last few clips, man, how do you stop this? Well, this is a way to stop it. Is the scrape exchange to kind of get that linebacker free on Lamar. Well, when you do this, now you're one-on-one on the perimeter, right? So there's one-on-one elements. So they call a version of their stick concept, and the corner stays wide, the flat defender expands, and you've got Odell Beckham sitting right there at the numbers with nobody near him. So it's just layering the base concept, and Baltimore does that tremendously well with all their runs, and especially a counter.
Right. And if you, I don't know if there's like an adjustment, like a side adjust type thing where it's clearly zone coverage here, but if he did have a man on him, is it possible he would continue that as a slant?
No, he would still run the stick or the hole route here, like the snag route, but he would kind of see the man defender chasing across the field, and he would try to create like a natural rub, right? He would try to aim for that defender's feet, force him over the top so that the arrow route had more space, which is kind of what he did anyways, but yeah. And
would man coverage maybe be a better counter to this so you don't have that 2-on-1 against a flat player?
Yeah, but you run the risk of getting that guy picked too. So it's, a well-designed play. So you got to try to pick your poison with that, right? Yeah. So this is, another, like we said, a way to layer onto an already well-designed play, but to layer onto it even more. So.
All right, now into our power concept. Power strong down. Oh, and that's from page 55. That has no other meaning.
Yeah, so power strong. the Ravens almost exclusively like to run power to a front side tight end. So what power is similar to counter. The front side of the offensive line will block down. Almost actually the assignments are identical to counter. You've got a fullback on the front side as the kickout player now, and now the backside guard is going to lead through. So this is a good look at it, right? So we're going to get a nice double team. Well, actually, no, the defense stunts, so we're not going to get a double team, but they kind of wash themselves down. Ricard's going to kick out the in-man on the line of scrimmage there, try to block that inside shoulder. Backside guard's going to lead through for the play side backer, and we're off to the races. So this is a great rep of 21 personnel power. And big picture, we'll have to see from the wide clip here too. Baltimore loves to run this out of an unbalanced look. So that's another way to create numbers and leverage at the point of attack too, when the defense knows you're running the football.
And so a lot of times I think of stunts in respect to the passing game, where you know, kind of creating rush lanes. But when you stunt a defensive line like this against the run, how does that change the linebackers' fits?
So 57 is going to scrape over the top. So actually, another thing to note too is the Ravens bring over an offensive lineman to the tight end spot there, right? And they leave their tight end on the backside for the easy backside, the quote unquote easier backside block to the squeeze hinge. So that offensive lineman that's lined up at tight end on the play side, number 65 there, he's used to these types of movements more so than a tight end probably would be, right? So getting an offensive lineman in that spot, not only you have a better blocker, but you have someone who understands these types of looks a little bit better too.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so 57's got to scrape over the top. And actually, as you can see, that backside corner is the unblocked defender, right? So he's coming across, so he's got quite a ways to work. So that's why we'll see from the wide angle if the Ravens are in an unbalanced look. And the other thing too is if they were in unbalanced, they probably got to the line of scrimmage and snap the ball quick with tempo, because that's something they did often in this look too, to do exactly that, to get the defense to leave a defender to the other side of the field and snap the ball before he has time to adjust.
All right, so then, zone concepts. I don't think, unless I'm wrong, the Ravens aren't doing anything special or groundbreaking with zone. They weren't very efficient with it in 2023. Not like obviously the 49ers, like the gold standard, but just a simple inside zone, maybe not a whole lot to talk about here.
Yeah, so Baltimore does a lot of good stuff with inside zone. They RPO it really well. They read it well. By read it, I mean they'll get Lamar involved with the read action. And there was actually some versions of it where they were like 12 of 12 with it on like third and shorts and fourth and short situations. So they had strong short yardage efficiency with it. It was kind of their 1A was their counter, 1B was inside zone. Sure. So in this particular version, they're blocking the backside tight end, or they're using that backside tight end to block the defensive end. So it's an automatic handoff for Lamar. But they did some creative stuff with inside zone. If I had to choose my favorite two run concepts that they executed well, but also did a lot of creative stuff with, it would be counter would be first, and then inside zone would be second. They're not like you said, they're not a huge outside zone team, right? Like if you want outside zone, go look at Kyle Shanahan and go look at Mike McDaniel and see what they're up to. But inside zone, Baltimore did a good job. And they're relatively unique in how they run it too. Their running back's aiming point is a little bit wider than most teams. So what that means is the play is going to look like outside zone. Linebackers will try to fit over the top a little bit more. So you'll see some really nice cutbacks from Baltimore's running backs with this concept, kind of like how you see here, right? Like number 9's working over the top on the linebacker there. He's working over the top, right? And this ball is going to cut back into that nice open lane behind him.
Gotcha.
All right. So then, the zone read, it's a staple with a rushing quarterback like Lamar Jackson. But, if you could, maybe one of the simpler run concepts, but just break it down for us.
Yeah, single high look. So you got an unblocked defender in the box. That unblocked defender decides to chase the running back. You got nobody for the quarterback, right? Unless you've got a scrape defender, which they don't in this case, right? So you got Lamar one-on-one with a safety in space, and good luck to that free safety.
And then off of that, some of the RPO action.
Heck, I could have picked up 10 yards here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the zone lock RPO. So this is some of the I actually posted this to my Substack, a 15-minute cut up of this morning to my Substack. So here they're blocking, so there's no run read for Lamar. Okay, so he's reading the backside linebacker. In this case, I believe it's Fred Moore.
Yeah.
For a run pass, because if he stays back, then he leaves his run gap uncovered. So the Ravens have a man advantage in the box, right? So if he triggers to the run, like he he kind of plays the middle here, but for the purpose of this play, we'll say he triggers the run. That opens up a slant window behind him, right? So the Ravens are attacking that space voided by that unblocked linebacker, triggering to protect his run gap. So this is one of the different ways to run zone lock RPOs to get to like 3-step pass concepts too. I think these are you ensure yourself you get a good look. It's a great early down play. You can call it on 1st and 10. You can call it on 2nd and 10, 2nd and 6. There's a lot of application to these types of plays, and the Ravens were very good with them in 2023.
So then outside zone, we mentioned it a little bit already. This one's a handoff to go.
Yeah, it's a complementary play for them. So they ran it out of certain similar looks that they would counter, right? So like they're in these 11 personnel, in this case 11 personnel, but a lot of cases it'd be 12 personnel with a tight end off, kind of similar looks like pistol that they would have to counter. So it's a complementary play. Counter being their base, offense, they're able to get these reach blocks a little bit better, being a gap heavy team. So it's a change up.
So
zone is
Zoro. This isn't.
I was going to say the
Zoro.
nice thing with outside zone is.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, real quick before we get into the specific of that play. So the nice thing with outside zone is Lamar doesn't have to read this. You can leave that backside defensive end unblocked because you're working so far to the edge, right? So like a lot of times on outside zone, you can call it and run it against single high looks, and that guy's not really a factor, right? Like Lamar doesn't have to read. Like you can run outside zone read, but you don't have to. And this is a good example of why you don't have to.
Gotcha. So Zoro is what, with a lead blocker?
Yeah, so that's a version of outside zone with a lead blocker where you're going to have the tight end and fullback combo the end man line scrimmage. This is just a base outside zone version where you've got, the play side combination working up to that first down defender so that you can account for all the front side defenders without bringing a receiver in to block like a down safety or something. So yeah, this is like a base early install, just 11 personnel outside zone variation.
And so Zoro Cat is what? Because that has to be my favorite name of any play.
Yeah. So Cat just says, that's like a Shanahan word, right? So like Cat means in their language that the play side receiver is going to push crack the safety automatically. And that edge combination I was just talking about where the fullback and tight end are comboing the end man of the line of scrimmage, that's going to work out to the corner instead of the safety like it would in regular Zoro.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so then, this was another play that kind of blew my mind because from a schematic perspective, this is a crack toss, except there's no toss. It's just Lamar keeping it.
Correct. Yep. Yeah. So crack toss is the generic term I use to describe the blocking. So basically crack toss is front side, outside zone blocking with the play side tackle pulling around as after a tight end or a receiver cracks the end man on the line of scrimmage. And that's exactly what's happening here. So in the Ravens case, they use misdirection. They have the running back cross face, and then they just have Lamar take off. And it looks like, I don't know if the Ravens pulled the guard too there, but sometimes you can pull a second player around the edge. But yeah, it's a down block on the end man of the line of scrimmage, and you're pulling that play side tackle around to lead up on either the alley defender, or in this case, the corner.
Yeah, that is, I think that's our center, but it's not Linderbaum, it's the backup, so a little less quick on his feet.
But yeah, this is a really creative way to get to crack toss blocking, and obviously Lamar just making it happen out in space there.
Right. All right. Okay, so now we're into some pass
for.
For what?
I was just gonna say it's great teach tape for a ball carrier on crack toss to how you follow the block of that puller and how you read that block.
Gotcha. All right, so into some pass concepts now. PA keeper, and this is against a cover one.
Yeah, so obviously when you've got a mobile quarterback like Lamar Jackson, keeper should be a staple in your playbook. So what a keeper is you're faking outside zone one way, your quarterback's going to boot out the other way, and there's going to be some sort of like level concept, right? So like here you've got a corner, you've got a flat, and then you've got this receiver coming across the field. Like can't tell what number he is.
Bateman, I believe.
But the receiver that ends up catching this ball is the low cross, so he's kind of the middle level, right? So this play is great against zone because you can essentially high-low a flat defender, and then you're trying to get the hook defender to defend his run gap. But against man coverage, that low cross can run across the field and create separation, and you're going to have extra time because your quarterback is on the edge of the defense, right? So keepers are a great concept. They were pretty good for Baltimore too. They do some creative, unique stuff, but this is more of like a base keeper here, right? So this does show something that they do well. So what they do here is they've got Patrick Ricard lined up as the number one receiver, and what they're going to do here, because Lamar's so dynamic on the edge, they're going to pin the end man on the line of scrimmage so that Lamar can get to the edge. Where a lot of like the Shanahan McVay guys will have that guy run like a slam flat, let that defender go, and try to dump the ball off to a skill player better than, instead of like a Matthew Stafford or a Jimmy Garoppolo or Brock Purdy, trying to get the ball, trying to get out to the perimeter. But Todd Monken, understanding who he has as a quarterback, says, hey, we're not going to run the slam flat. Let's pin that guy instead, and let's just Lamar get to the edge, and one less route for him to read. And you're also ensuring that he gets the ball to the edge of the defense, right? So it's a beautiful tweak when you've got a mobile quarterback to a base keeper concept.
And Pat Ricard in the flat isn't exactly scaring defenses.
Yeah, that too.
And as far as, so we talked about they're not the best outside zone team in the world, but is this kind of proof of why you need to eat your vegetables and, honor that and run those plays just so that the defense respects it and opens some of this up?
Yeah, certainly. And the nice thing too is, right, if I'm showing you outside zone with the first 3 steps, you have to honor it if you're a linebacker, right? Because the Ravens run it enough where it's like, all right, if you don't honor it, there's going to be a huge crease in the defense. So, to your point, that's, while they did have some successful runs, it obviously wasn't their best run scheme, but that's kind of the role of a complementary run, right? To kind of, if it's there, get the big play. If not, you're, against the looks that you like. If not, you're setting up other stuff in your offense too.
Gotcha. Okay, so now a little bit of a deeper concept, but somewhat similar, PA cross.
Yeah, so the Ravens do a good job with their high cross concepts. They use 2 front side verticals. Here they actually throw one of them because they have the safety trigger down. But what they're trying to do is use those verticals to clear out space for that crossing route coming across the field. But against these types of cheat coverages where a single high defense uses a free safety to cheat down, you can hit the home run to the post route like they do here. It's a nice tweak because usually most teams that run these usually only have one clear out on the front side, and against quarters coverages that the defense can kind of clamp it down. So the way the Ravens run these is a nice tweak to the play to make it more all-purpose.
So this is it looks like cover 3 to me, right?
Yep. Yeah, it's essentially cover 3 with that safety driving down. It's a cheat technique. So go ahead.
Yeah, but if you get quarters, which, if you're talking about kind of like the hip coverage in the NFL, a lot of quarters and sixes and things, Mark Andrews would then pull this defender upfield and open up the void for Bateman in behind him?
Essentially, yeah. So you'd have those 2 verticals clearing out the corner and safety, and now you've got that receiver working across against a linebacker.
So that's a good answer for 2 really common coverages, I'd say.
100%. Yep. Yeah. This is another. The Ravens do a lot of. As we've seen throughout this breakdown so far, they do a great job of taking base plays and tweaking them to making them better, right? And that's why I had so much fun studying them, because from a coach's standpoint, they did a great job designing these concepts.
Gotcha. All right. That's just a crazy throw too. Okay. So spot. Could you talk about the importance of the spot concept in the Ravens offense?
Yeah, it's one of their Todd Monken's ran this a bunch at Georgia too. So it's a 3-man concept to the bottom of the screen here. So you're going to get a corner route, you're going to get a snag and an arrow. It's kind of an all-purpose pass concept. Really good against honestly a lot of coverages. You get zone, you're stretching zones horizontally and vertically, and you're kind of creating a nice little man rub for the running back, with a snag route too if you've got man coverage. The slant routes, if you've got leverage or if you get a too high look, you're going to get certain too high looks. You can have the quarterback pick the slant side at the top of the screen pre-snap too. So it's a pre-snap pick a side read. You pick a side and you stick to that side.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so here the flat defender expands. There's a lot of space for the snag route.
Yeah.
So here we have another spot, but away from it, is the dragon concept, which is, I mean, like a day one install, right?
Yeah, the Ravens run a ton of dragons. So looking at this, I'm not quite, now that I see this, I might have misclassified this in the book. It might be like a backside dig concept with it, but it's essentially doing the same thing. So dragon is a flat route, or in this case, like a swing from the backfield and a slant.
Right.
And what you're trying to do is you're trying to stretch a flat defender. And right here, the flat defender stays tucked in with the slant. So the running back's got space to work with.
And so, like, what is Lamar?
And Lamar does a great job here getting the ball out on time, so the running back can do something with it after the catch to pick up the first down.
So why does, I mean, because if you've, I mean, in almost every, I mean, if it's spot, right, why does Lamar not even look at the spot here? What is his key to know that he just wants to snap down to the dragon concept?
It could be a game plan thing, but usually when you've got dragon paired with spot, if you've got single high, you're going to the dragon side. And it kind of looks like the Rams are rotating to that here, right? It looks like that safety is the flat defender and he's trying to get down to that running back and he just doesn't have enough time to get there, right? So whether that was the case, yeah, that's what it looks like. It looks like a version of cover 3 there. So yeah, you want it, great pre-snap diagnosis from Lamar to see that and to get the ball out to the dragon side, because dragon's great against cover 3.
Right, and if it's
a
too high,
choice
then you're gonna.
If it's too high, you're gonna high-low this flat defender. Is that right?
Yeah. So spot against cover 2, you're gonna high-low the corner with the arrow in the corner route. If it's cover 4, you're going to in-out the flat defender with the snag and the spot, right? So that flat defender, that backer, is going to get kind of in like a horizontal stretch, where cover 2, you've got a corner who can stay low and you've got a hook defender who can stay on the snag. But now if that corner stays low on the arrow, you've got the corner route opening up behind him with outside leverage on a safety and space to work to the sideline. So the read kind of changes. And I've gone back and forth on how to coach up the read on spot, and a lot of teams do it differently. And it just depends what you're trying to do. Like game plan, if you know your team you're playing, hey, they play a ton of cover 2 to the field. Okay, we're going to create a high-low on the cornerback this week. If you know you're playing a cover 4 team, all right, let's stretch that flat defender inside out with the snag route and with the arrow. So it's a very versatile concept, and that kind of shows you how it can get the job done both against cover 2 and cover 4.
Gotcha. And is there an answer for man coverage in here? I guess it would be Zay.
Yeah. So man coverage, you've got, like we talked about in the previous example, you've got the snag route can pick, and kind of create, kind of pick that defender who's going to be chasing the arrow out of the backfield. But also dragon's not bad against man coverage too. Right. So essentially what's happening here is it's essentially man coverage, because that safety has the swing out of the backfield and he's got to kind of fight through the slant to get there. So dragon, if it's man coverage and we know it's man, I'm going to the dragon side because we can get yards after the catch with the slant or the arrow, depending on which one we hit. We're trying, really, ideally, you want to hit that slant route against man. And Odell Beckham had quite a few catches on slant routes in 23 for the Ravens too.
And the rest of his career as well.
Yes.
All right. So next one, another spot variation, but this time Y basic.
Yeah, so the basic tag, what we're doing here, and if you want to freeze frame it right there, right as the tight end's wrapping around that hook player. So right there, essentially. Maybe a little bit more. Go back a little bit. Sorry. So cover 3 defenses, they can cover up a traditional spot concept, right? With that hook defender getting more width because he has more space, he has more time to get over to that side of the field. Flat defender takes the arrow. Now, when that hook defender takes that snag, that opens up a ton of space behind him. So the tagging a basic route, tagging the corner receiver to run a basic route replaces that space that he vacates. And this is a great illustration of it, right? You see that hook defender come down, that basic's got a ton of space over the middle of the field.
Gotcha.
And good timing, right?
This is teach tape for why this play is. Yep. Good timing.
All right. So bang, pivot, weak. And we have a cover 1 look right here.
Yeah. So So bang pivot is a base 5-step pass concept. So what we do is create a high-low on a hook defender here, right? So now we're getting man coverage though. So against man, so the bang pivot concept's the concept up at the top of the screen. So you've got a 7-step dig from the outside receiver. Inside receiver's running what I call a pivot route. So he's going to get to 4 yards. He's going to break out against tight coverage, or if there's a void, like a soft zone, he's going to settle and sit and replace. Um, so with this being man coverage and the Bengals using the robber to kind of help and double team the bang route, Lamar does a great job working to his backside read. So one of the base ways that Baltimore likes to run this is with a return route here from the slot receiver. Now against cover 1 and cover 3, he's going to have inside leverage because that defender on Zay Flowers here doesn't really have much help to the outside. So, he's got a free safety in the middle of the field, so he's going to help, or he's going to play shading to the outside more, right? So that's why Zay Flowers opens up so much to the inside here. So it's a well-designed play, executed very well against the coverage that it's supposed to execute well against. Of course, Zay Flowers is making things happen in space before and after the catch.
Of course. All right, so then we have flood sail versus cover 3.
Yeah, so flood / sail, it's a 3-level vertical stretch on the sideline. Baltimore crushed teams with this in last season in that intermediate route constantly. Getting a nice stretch on the flat defender with a hook defender tucked in. Sometimes they would do it with play action. Sometimes they would sell that sail route on more of like what I call a Seattle stem, where he's bending inside, selling that over route, and then converting back out to create separation against certain looks. But yeah, Lamar was very good at throwing this intermediate outbreaking route all season.
So is that Seattle stem also a better answer for, say, man coverage?
Yeah, because you're getting that sell. Right? You're trying to get that defender to undercut an over route, and then you get him in that inside hip. Receiver sticks his foot in the ground and kind of bends back outside. So yes.
So the only downside would be timing, right? It takes longer to develop the sail route or the Seattle route.
It does, and that's why it's usually paired. Yeah, so that's why it's usually paired with play action. So it looks like this clip that you're coming up on, you've got a good example of it. So this cover 4, I believe San Francisco plays cover 4 here. Yeah, so that defender's essentially man on Isaiah Likely, right? And see how Likely stems inside, tries to sell that inside break to create the outside leverage. So he tries to win on that first break to win back on the second break. And you can see how the play action kind of buys Lamar a little bit more time here too.
Just stiff arm him into the earth. All right. Let's see. Okay, middle read. What should we know?
Yeah, so middle read is a simple play from the standpoint of you can do a lot with it. So middle read refers to the route from the slot receiver. Okay, against single high, he's going to bend across the field. Against too high, he's going to stay vertical and try to split the safeties. Now, what you're trying to do on the outside is you're creating whether it be double moves, which the Ravens were very creative with, especially here, right? So you kind of see the receiver at the top of the screen sell the slant. What you're trying to do is win one-on-ones on the outside. If the defense wants to double team the middle read, you've got one-on-ones on the outside. If they double team the outside receivers, the middle read has one-on-one to work the middle of the field. Obviously, you've got a couple of checkdowns properly distributed as well, but that's kind of the theory of the play. And right here, Baltimore is, once again, doing a great job of designing a pass concept because they're making it look like their zone lock RPO, right? That looks exactly like the play we saw earlier against the Niners. And corner drives on it because he studied as a tape. Nope, it's a version of the middle read concept. They get exactly what they want. They get a one-on-one with a double move off a base look that they usually run, and you see exactly what happens.
So that's supposed to look like dragon, correct?
Yep, to the top of the screen. Yep, it's supposed to look like slant flat. The receiver at the top runs what's called a sluggo, which is a slant and go. Beautiful route technique to create separation. And the nice thing is the zone lock protection looks identical to the play action protection too. So everything looks the same for the defense.
And that's key, right? In any scheme you're running is just kind of marrying plays together.
Yes, 100%.
All right. So the Browns running their typical cover 1, either hole or robber, right?
Yeah. So we got man coverage. We've got a dagger concept to the top with the tight end as the low as the low elements of the dagger coming from the other side of the screen on a shallow. And when you're running dagger out of 3-by-1, the number 3 receiver is kind of an alert against man coverage. And we see right here exactly why. He's running away from, usually a slower defender, whether it be a linebacker or a safety. He's running away from him to the other side of the field where he's traveling with the shallow route. So he's going to have a ton of space to work with here. So this is, dagger itself is not great against man, but adding this number 3 receiver on what's called like a special route here, trying to work to the other side of the field on like a locked bender route. You can see exactly what the benefit of that is for the offense.
All right. Drive versus cover 2.
Yes. So Baltimore ran a little bit of drive as well, like 2 drives. So here they kind of run like a constraint off their bang pivot concept where the running back's going to rail up the sideline. If they get a one-on-one there, Lamar's going to take it with leverage, but it looks like the defense drops off to Tampa 2. So what that does is that opens up space for the backside of the play, the drive element. So Lamar looks to the running back first. That's not there because the defender cheats over to help. That opens up space for Zay Flowers underneath. And as you can see, Lamar throws the ball to him on time here. And if that Mike that middle linebacker, instead of turning and running with the tight end, now you've got the tight end working on an in-breaker. So it's a nice play that it's a nice pure progression play where everything works into Lamar's vision.
All right. Well, that is everything. I don't know what that is. That is all that I have as far as plays. But I'm curious. Tell me a little bit about yourself. And what project you're working on now.
Yeah, so currently I haven't been working on anything for 3 weeks now. I don't know what to do with myself, but I know I've got a job and 3 kids that keep me plenty busy. But so I haven't been working on any football projects right now. Just waiting for the next season to start. And once week 1 hits, I'm gonna be locked and loaded, trying to get ahead and try to crank out as many books as I did this year. I got 6 books done this year. I'm hoping we'll see what offenses are going to be interesting and what teams I'm going to follow for next year. But like I said earlier, I am a high school coach too. I've taken, spend some more time at home with my wife and kids. I've taken a step back from that. I'll get back to it eventually, but